For those looking to improve their lives, there's nobody better to turn to than Paula Shaw. Paula helps people regain successful lives by identifying and eliminating self-sabotaging behavior using a multitude of mind-body techniques to identify and resolve their core issues. Working with a wide variety of healing modalities, she provides her clients with the most effective process for their specific needs. To book a session with Paula, call 858-480-9234. That's 858-480-9234.
The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, can be heard every Sunday at 9 p.m. right here on The Answer San Diego. Life is full of circles, cycles, phases, and stages. It's your choice to ignore or embrace them. Motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, James Cooley, and his guest will inspire and equip you to strive for your own greatness and overcome adversities. Listen to The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, every Sunday at 9 p.m. right here on The Answer San Diego.
The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, can be heard every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on 660 AM The Answer in Dallas-Fort Worth. Life is full of circles, cycles, phases, and stages. It's your choice to ignore them or embrace them. Motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, James Cooley, and his guests will inspire and equip you to strive for your own greatness and overcome adversities. Listen to The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on 660 AM The Answer in Dallas-Fort Worth.
The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, can be heard every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on The Answer. Life is full of circles, cycles, phases, and stages. It's your choice to ignore or embrace them. Motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, James Cooley and his guests will inspire and equip you to strive for your own greatness and overcome adversities. Listen to The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on The Answer.
Yeah. Dr. James J.C. Cooley. The James Cooley Show. It's your life. Yeah.
Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, but today is Bridges Beyond Grief. So Paula Shaw is going to be doing most of the hosting today, and she got an absolutely fantastic guest coming on the show, and I'm excited about this, Michelle. What are your thoughts?
I'm excited about this too. I'm excited anytime Paula comes on the show and brings a guest. She has so much energy. We love her. And, her guests are educational, motivating, and inspiring. So I'm excited about the guests today, who I will introduce.
Yes, I know. I got to stay in my lane. I already know that. I tell you what, can you tell our viewers, first of all, whichever platform that you're watching us on, whether you're watching us on E360 television, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Rumble, and over 84 platforms. Welcome to the show. If you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is just go to the comments on the platform that you are on and ask any question that you might have. And I promise you we'll get you an answer. Michelle, can you do the honors introducing the title of the show, introducing Paula, and introducing just introduce all the guests. I think we got 300 of them.
Oh my goodness. Well, the title of today's show, let me put on my specs, is If You're Alive, Your Mission on Earth is Not Finished. I'll say, isn't finished. So our guest host, Paula Shaw, who is a life transitions expert, grief specialist, keynote speaker, media host, and author, she is having, along with us, a sit-down conversation with David McNally. He is an author, speaker, and award-winning film producer. We're going to talk about the book, If You're Alive, Your Mission on Earth Isn't Finished, discovering and embracing opportunities for a rich and full life, embracing the transformative power of self-discovery, and exercising self-care during challenging periods. Wow. So internationally acclaimed author, speaker, and award-winning film producer David McNally has recently released his new book, again, titled If You're Alive, Your Mission on Earth Isn't Finished. The book inspires readers to discover and embrace opportunities for a rich and full life, regardless of our age, infused with the wisdom gained from a life that has experienced great joy and deep pain. It poignantly reflects David's own search for meaning and purpose after profound loss. The Stranger to Grief, he's twice widowed cancer survivor. He's going to tell us a little bit about the backstories regarding that. His other best-selling books include Even Eagles Need a Push, Learning to Soar in a Changing World, The Eagle's Secret Success Strategies for Thriving at Work, and in Life and Be Your Own Brand, Achieving More of What You Want by Being More of Who You Are. He's also the producer of the award-winning documentary, The Power of Purpose. A member of the Speakers Hall of Fame, he has spoken to audiences all over the world. He's globally recognized thought leader on topics of purpose and meaning. So first of all, let's bring our guest host, Paula Shaw, here. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, guys.
And Paula, you want to bring David McNally on?
Absolutely. The first thing I'd like to say in introducing David is, as you all know, what we try to do on this show is either interview people who have suffered great loss and found the bridge to the other side of that grief, or people who are that bridge for others. And once again, I struck gold because David is both. And he is the author of this book, which Michelle has already talked about. And I have really been enjoying it and loving it. So I'm very excited to talk to David about it today. So David, good to see you, and thank you for being available.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be with you all. Yeah, fabulous.
Cool. So JC, I have a feeling you're bursting to say something. So you go first.
Okay, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much, Paula, for bringing this guest on. David, I'm intrigued with the title of your book and can't wait to hear a whole lot more about it. But can you tell our audience and our viewers a little bit more about you? What makes you click? What inspired you? Why you're so passionate about what you do?
Yes, I've always been fascinated by what I would call, JC, the human spirit. What is it that helps us transcend some of life's greatest challenges, and what allows us to achieve significant things, and especially when it comes to people who may be perceived as ordinary and then go out and do something that's absolutely extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
People who have suffered great challenges but are able to rise up and move forward in their lives. My father was a fabulous role model for me. He was one of 10 children from a very poor Scottish family. And he was a person who was supporting his family when he was 9 years of age. Went into the British Merchant Navy when he was 14 and spent his adolescence in the Second World War. But my father was someone who had always had a tremendous attitude of gratitude. And so he emigrated to Australia when I was 9. So I was raised in Australia, born in London. And my father was one of these people who always had this spirit about giving back. And so he started off as a person who, and when he arrived in Australia, had to work in a bar to make some money, and finished up a very successful realtor. So I had this model, and I know, unfortunately, many people do not have that as a model for a father, but I did. My father, who inspired me to look at that whole area of motivation and aspiration. So that's where it began.
You know, David, this is crazy, but I never knew before all of that about your dad. And my dad was one of 9 children. He joined the U.S. Navy at 17 and a half and was a medic on the beach at Normandy in World War II.
Wow.
And he too always had this joyful spirit and the attitude of gratitude that you talk about. And he certainly was a big part of my inspiration too. And he believed that you could do anything you really wanted to do. And I think it's just kind of really fun that we have that in common, because it really does give you a certain perspective about the things that happen in your life that doesn't keep them from stopping you. That, you know, it's like that motivation, that cheerleading, if you will, that our dads always did for us, stays with you. So you have a little bit more to overcome whatever comes your way.
Yes, I think there's nothing more important, and just knowing what your show does, and the whole show that you're involved in, is all about encouragement, right? Where, you know, and encouragement means encourage, the French expression of to give courage.
Yes.
And there's a lack of encouragement. There's a lack of compliments out there in the world, and the more that we can do that, and allow people to understand you can get through this,
Yes.
and you can get to the other side, and you can still have a powerful and wonderful life. You can. At this particular moment, it may look pretty bleak, but there is another side to this, and you can get through it. And by getting through it, you will be amazed at what happens to you internally, and how you transform yourself by meeting that challenge head on.
Oh, I just love what you just said. What a beautiful, perfect message. And, you know, if we could all have that engraved on the inside of our arm to read and remind us when we're going through tough things, because sometimes when you are in the middle of it, and my heart goes out to people. I don't in any way judge anyone, because some people, it does stop them, at least for a while. For some people, they can't find whatever they need to dig down and get to want to keep going. And it sometimes does stop people, or at least temporarily slow them down. But you're so right. You know, on the other side of grief is strength, is wisdom, is courage, is a knowing something about yourself that you didn't know before. And maybe part of that is that you can endure, as long as that's your focus and your function.
You can endure, and you can experience joy.
Yes.
And that is the hardest thing, I think, that people can find it hard to grasp, that joy is possible, and it may be tiny moments of joy. But as you mentioned in the introduction, I have become a widower twice. So 2 of the most wonderful women that I have been married to passed away, and so there's some enormous bouts of grief that that I have had to deal with, and quite frankly, some of it is very fresh. My second wife just passed away 2 years ago. So that grief is still very present with me. It's not debilitating. I think that's what's very, very important. And one of the most wonderful pieces of advice that I got early on after losing my second wife was that it was from an article. I wish I could remember who wrote it, but the woman had lost her husband, and she said, people keep asking me, when will I move on? And she realized that she had to answer, never. I will never move on from this man who I loved deeply, but I can move forward.
Oh,
and she said,
beautiful.
So that
Hey, David, hold that thought. We got to take a station break. Hold that thought. I want to hear, when we come back, I tell you what, whichever platform you're watching this on, if you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is just go to the comments, ask any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
Doctor, James, JC, Cooley. The James Cooley Show. It's your life.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
For those looking to improve their lives, there's nobody better to turn to than Paula Shaw. Paula helps people regain successful lives by identifying and eliminating self-sabotaging behavior using a multitude of mind-body techniques to identify and resolve their core issues. Working with a wide variety of healing modalities, she provides her clients with the most effective process for their specific needs. To book a session with Paula, call 858-480-9234. That's 858-480-9234.
Welcome to Viridian Christian University, where faith and learning come together to transform lives. At VCU, we believe that education is more than just academics. It's about fostering a community of growth, integrity, and purpose. Whether you're pursuing a bachelor's, master's, or doctorate, VCU offers flexible, affordable, and 100% online degree programs that cater to your busy life. Our innovative platform provides a personalized learning experience, empowering you to thrive in today's ever-evolving world. Join a global community of learners guided by an experienced faculty who are committed to your success. With VCU, you're not just earning a degree, you're preparing for a future that integrates faith, leadership, and service. Viridian Christian University, educating with purpose, transforming lives. Learn more at ViridianChristianUniversity.com. ViridianChristianUniversity.com.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And today, just like I mentioned in the beginning, we're talking about bridges beyond. Paula will tell you what it is. But she has invited another absolutely outstanding guest here. And just listening to him during the first segment, it gives people hope, regardless of the situation or circumstances that might occur. And his book is called If You Are Alive, Your Mission on Earth Isn't Finished. So I love that title. And I want to get back to that. David, you was telling about your two wives that passed, and you was going off into a lot of other stuff. Can we pick it up with that?
Is it my turn?
Oh, yeah.
I was just going to say one thing, David, before you do. You just said something so powerful before the break, that this woman that you were talking about was saying, I'll never move on from this person that I love, but I can go forward. And I think that is so important and so powerful. And particularly, you had said in the beginning, everybody was asking you, when are you going to move on? And I have to tell you, there's a little part of me that just wants to put up my dukes, because I try to teach people all the time. Grief is a unique experience for every person. Remember when we were kids, you got 3 days off work when you were grieving. And there was always this sort of idea that, in a month, you should be back to your life. No, that isn't true. And there is the potential, as you said earlier, to have joy, to go forward, to have a full, beautiful life with increased wisdom and courage and all that you gain going through the grief process. But there is no one size fits all. And I think that is the point that you were about to make. So please go ahead, David.
Well, you can't rush grief. That's what's very, very important. You can't rush it. It will take its time. And I think one of the most important qualities, and this is not just applicable to grief, that all of us as human beings, as we get wisdom, is the quality of acceptance. To be able to accept our lives as they unfold and as they unfurl.
Right.
And when we get into that period of acceptance and realize what we can control and what we cannot control, where we have power and where we are powerless, once we start to understand those things, then we can get to that period in our lives where we have greater peace of mind and open some windows for joy to come in. Now, I'm a realist, and I would be disingenuous if I didn't say that, I still have bouts of what I call morning melancholy. And I wake up and I miss my wife so much. And so I have that melancholy. And in the evening, I call it the evening blues. I have the evening blues.
Yeah.
And in between those two places, I endeavor to move forward and do things that help me feel better. But I don't endeavor to force it, Paula. It's not about forcing it. It's about what can I do today that I know will reward me with the type of feelings that I'm looking for, and without invalidating what I do feel genuinely and authentically.
I love that. And, I had written down something from your book that Joseph Campbell said. We must be willing to let go of the life we planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. That, I think, is exactly what you just described. And that's where the magic is, right? In finding things to do each day that give you meaning, that give you purpose, that make that day meaningful and important to you, so you feel good about who you are and how you lived that day. Correct?
Yeah, no, there's no question about that. Like, so for example, my first wife, the mother of my 5 children, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer when she was 54, and passed away at the age of 57. And that wasn't anything that she planned or I planned. In fact,
of course,
you would understand that we had just got to the stage where our youngest was off to college, and my wife said, "Free at last," right? Free at last.
I know that feeling.
and so and then all of a sudden she's diagnosed with cancer, and then goes through this debilitating chemotherapy, and so she passed away from this, and she did not want to go. She wasn't afraid of dying, and interestingly enough, neither of my wives were afraid of dying, but they just didn't want to die. And a big distinction. And,
yes.
and so she fought it all the way to the very end. But in fact, what happened after her passing is what inspired the title of the book that I've just written, If You're Alive, Your Mission on Earth Isn't Finished. And how that happened was that shortly after she passed away, the funeral, I had planned to go back to my hometown to grieve and be supported by my brothers and my father. My children remained where I live now in Minneapolis, but I needed a month to myself. So I went back to Adelaide in Australia, and I was walking the beaches one morning where she and I used to walk when we were courting in our younger days. And I was doing what the grief counselors tell you to do. They tell you, hey, don't stop talking to your loved ones. Right? And I always say, yes, the problem with the grief counselors is they don't tell you what to do when your loved ones answer back. and and so I'm walking along the beach, and I just said to Joe, her name was Josephine. I said, Joe, I said, I said, you were the first to go. Oh, tell me, why am I still here? And I can tell you within seconds, the answer came back, David, because you still have work to do. And I took that, and I just said, okay, if I'm alive, my mission on earth isn't finished. And that has become my mantra ever since. And that was 22 years ago, and I've lived that. And I live it today, right? I may have the morning melancholy, but if I'm alive, my mission on earth isn't finished.
I love that.
I just want to make a comment. First of all, I love this title of your book, and it's true. It's about. I look at it this way. If you or anyone, if you were the first to go, you would want your loved one to be happy and move on in life. You don't want them to spend the remainder of their life depressed, sad. And I understand grief is a process and there's no time limit. But I think one of the things that helps is, wow, my wife, my husband, they don't want me living this way. I understand the grief process, but joy is still out there for me. That's why I'm still here. I just want to make a comment on that.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful, Michelle, and so true, so true. And David, just to back up a little bit, before you lost Cheryl, you spent a good deal of time as her caregiver, correct?
Yes, I was her caregiver. So she was, so Cheryl being my second wife, I actually met her. We were both 60 at the time, and we were partners for 10 years before we got married. So both of us only got married at the age of 70, which was a wonderful celebration. But then 3 years later, that was when she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And then 6 months after that, it became very, very clear that she needed caregiving. As she was still, Cheryl had a very fascinating, as all Alzheimer's patients do. It's a very different experience. And Cheryl's brain seemed to be divided in two. In other words, the part of her brain where she was socially capable remained very, very intact. So she had the ability to communicate and be in conversation in an extraordinarily positive way, to the point where people did not think that she could possibly have Alzheimer's, because we have this perception. But the other part of the brain, and that was the part of the brain that they called the executive functioning, where she could do things for herself, began a deterioration process, which began with not being able to drive, not being able to read. She was a piano player. She could not play the piano any longer, cooking, anything like that, to where it ended up after the 3 or 4 years, she couldn't even dress herself. And I was doing all that. So yes, I was very much a full-time caregiver to her, which meant I gave away. When I say gave away, I put aside my business and what I was doing to look after her, because really there was nothing more purposeful for me than to make sure that she felt safe and protected. Yeah, so that was quite a journey in and of itself, that caregiving.
Oh, absolutely. And, one of my dear friends just had a similar experience. For a year, she gave up her business and all of the things that were part of her identity to take care of her dad with Alzheimer's. And there's a lot of sacrifice there. There's a lot of aspects of a kind of anticipatory grief, and a grief that comes in stages. And I have a feeling we're going to have to take a break because I see JC lurking. But
And,
when we come back, let's talk more about that.
Wow, this is such a interesting conversation. And it's something that Michelle and I have not had on the show before. I'm talking about this detail. And so I tell you what, I know that I see the numbers. You guys are watching. If you want to be part of this, this is your opportunity to ask any question that you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? And everything that you do.
Michelle.
I am right here. We're back. It's Your Life with Dr. James J.C. Cooley. Our guest is Mr. David McNally. Title of our show is If You're Alive, Your Mission on Earth Isn't Finished Yet. And audience, if you want to join the conversation, we still got time. Whatever platform you're watching the show on, just send in your questions to David and or comments, and we will air them. So Paula, please continue.
Okay. We were talking before the break about what it takes to be a caregiver. And I know, especially now, because the boomer population is the biggest segment of the population in most countries in the world, a lot of us, excuse me, have become caregivers. And David, you certainly spent a good deal of time in that role. And I know there's so many aspects of it. There's the sacrifice so often of your business and what you were doing there that gave you meaning, that gave you identity. There's the social sacrifices because you can't do everything that you could. There's the confinement because so often that person that you're taking care of isn't comfortable unless you're in the home. So, and so many other aspects of it. So, David, if you would share with our audience, what were the alterations, shall we say, in your life, and how did you cope?
I believe, let me begin this way by saying in my first book, I wrote, language is the software of the mind. So, and so I'm quite anal with language. So picking up on a word that you just used, Paula, which I think is very important to discard if we are to become the caregiver we want to be, and that is to stop seeing it as a sacrifice. All right. Okay. If I choose to be the caregiver, then I must choose willingly and lovingly to be the caregiver. Don't be a caregiver with resentment. Oh, I have to do this, even if the circumstances are really challenging, as they are being a caregiver. Again, embrace the fact that you as an individual, and it's hard at the beginning to understand that you will grow immensely in this whole journey of caregiving. For example, one of the things that you'll learn like you never learned it before, and that is patience. You will learn patience incredibly. For example, when people start to lose their memory or can't keep their thoughts together, when my wife Cheryl, she would ask me in the morning, she'd wake up, but we had a ritual, I'd bring her a cup of tea, and she'd ask me what's going on today, and I would tell her. And then I would go down and I'd make a piece of toast and I'd bring that. And she said, David, tell me what's going on today. And then I would go away and have a shower. I'd come back and she'd say, David, the thing that you can't do is you can't say, dear, I just told you that.
Yes.
I just told you that a minute ago or an hour ago. You have to be willing to say exactly as you would if you had responded to them in the first place. You say it exactly the same way with the same love and the same care. So you learn about this patient, but you begin with saying, this is not a sacrifice. I may have had to give up certain things, but I've chosen to do that. I'm not saying it's easy, Paula, but it begins the reframing in your mind of why you are doing it and the purpose behind why you're doing it. And that is a very big beginning to be a successful caregiver.
Boy, that is a huge, huge piece, David. Thank you for that, because you're so right. If you start out with the word sacrifice, then what you're really focusing on is what you've lost, not what you might gain. Oh, I think that is just huge. Now, tell me, did you have some community or someone, family or friends that you could talk to about the hard parts?
We were unbelievably fortunate in having incredible support. And there's something I want to communicate about that. We understood that, and we felt extremely blessed by it. We also realized that many people did not. So in this whole story of life, and people wanting to find ways to have some purpose and to contribute to others, the realization that there are people out there that need you, that to support them and to encourage them and help them get through that's a big contribution people can make. Now, we did have a lot of support. We had great communication. Cheryl was a gregarious person, so she had a lot of friends. and they really showed up for her and for us over the years. It allowed me to get out, occasionally have a game of golf, and they would look after her, and they loved being with her. We both had families. Cheryl had 2 daughters and a son. Her daughters were incredibly supportive of their mother. My children were as supportive as they could be. They loved Cheryl. So we did have a lot of that. And I took advantage of it because I needed that time away. I really did. I mean, it was 24/7. You need time to breathe. You need a lot of self-care, and the caregiver has to look after themselves. Without looking after themselves in every way, they cannot do what they need to do in looking after their loved one.
That's so important, this piece on self-care. I was going to ask you the kinds of things you did for self-care, but I also remember reading in your book that you tended to wake up a couple of hours before Cheryl, and that's actually when you were writing the book. Is that correct?
Yes, very much so. But I've had a practice for over 40 years of getting up early in the morning and journaling and reading books that are spiritually nourishing and positive. And so that stood me in great stead when I was the caregiver, because that practice gave me the strength to move through the day. And that, and also, of course, gave me that time on my own, because as soon as I heard, our bedroom is in an upper level, as soon as I heard, David, I knew the day began. The workday began.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was a very important thing that I did at that time.
You know, a friend of mine I mentioned earlier, Amy Scruggs, she was taking care of her father for over a year who had Alzheimer's. And one of the things she did for her self-care, which also ended up being such a giving thing to others, she developed quite a following online. She would post videos of the kinds of things she was doing with her dad, like car karaoke, where they'd go for a drive and sing together. And she started having followers from the Alzheimer's Association, other people in that caregiving role who were now inspired by what she was doing. And it gave them some ideas of things they could do as well. And so I think this thing of giving to others as you're seeking their comfort and their support and the connection with them is so beautiful. And out of your need for that and desire to do that came this amazing book. I think it's great.
I think what she did was fantastic, because people want to know they're not alone. That hey, I'm not alone on this. Others are experiencing this, whatever it may be, whether it's looking after someone with Alzheimer's or having Alzheimer's oneself, one having cancer. You know, I had a very debilitating time with my own cancer. So I did myself. I wrote several articles that were published by a publication called Next Avenue, which is a national public radio publication. Yeah. So, and people responded to them beautifully.
Yes. It's such a wonderful thing, because you can share what you're experiencing and give them help and maybe ideas of other things they can do. And you're helping to take care of yourself and heal yourself.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
You know, I tell you what, we're going to take a station break. We're going to come back. This is so intriguing. And David, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing this. I know that you're helping a whole lot of folks out there. So I tell you what, it's not too late if you're part of this conversation. All you have to do is go to the platform that you're watching this on, ask any question that you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. It's your life. We'll be back shortly after the break.
The future is here.
Now is the time to pursue the greatness in you. Welcome to Viridian Christian University, where faith meets future. We are a fully accredited 100% online Christian university. We offer bachelor's degree, master's and doctorate degree programs built for students like you. affordable tuitions, 30-plus degree programs, 100% online and flexible, integrating faith with learning. Study from anywhere at your pace. At VCU, we do not just prepare you for a degree. We prepare you for purpose. Discover who you are, grow in faith, and build a future that impacts the world.
Are you ready to start your journey today? Visit www.viridianchristianuniversity.com.
Apply today and be among the global leaders.
A Black Man's Point of View is the newest Amazon.com #1 release and bestseller book from author Dr. James J.C. Cooley, featuring the perspective from 11 other contributing authors. In A Black Man's Point of View, Dr. James Cooley unpacks his thoughts and personal experiences about the challenges, stereotypes, and feelings of self-worth that many black men face today due to a 400-year ancestry rooted in slavery and colonization. Yet, how so many black men move forward despite this history. Most importantly, A Black Man's Point of View conveys that all men, regardless of race, creed, or color, are capable of love, respect, and dignity. Described as a map to a greater life from the heart of a man who's experienced life's misfortune and harsh conditions, James shows us how beliefs, convictions, and a healthy mentality can help propel a life worth living. A must-read for all. Order your copy of A Black Man's Point of View by author Dr. James J.C. Cooley today from Amazon.com or wherever books are sold.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you what, Paula slammed another home run over this guest that we have on today.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get right back to him shortly, but I want to tell our viewers and our listeners out there about this great university. Yeah, I think it's great, not just because I'm the chancellor, but we are helping so many people to reach their goals by getting a Christian education. It's called Viridian Christian University. And I tell you what, we offer over 30 degree programs from bachelor's, master's, doctorates. And if you are doing above and beyond, we also offer honorary doctorate degrees to recognize folks around the world. We just had our first international graduation in Dubai a month ago, and it was absolutely incredible. So I tell you what, I ask you to, if you're looking to further your education, if you're doing extraordinary things out there, go to ViridianChristianUniversity.com, ViridianChristianUniversity.com. I want to get back to this. The title of your book, I mean, just like I said, if you still living, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, that your mission is not over yet. And how did your background in films and documentaries help shape the way that you write your books?
The genesis of that began in my mid-30s. So I've always been a very ambitious person. And again, giving you a little bit about my background earlier, that my parents emigrating to Australia, poor people, but ambitious people. So I grew up inheriting that ambition, and so I was very successful at a very young age. I was an entrepreneur, and I built businesses, and I succeeded in my 20s. I went broke and came back again. And then in my mid-30s, I had moved to the United States from Australia. And I woke up one particular morning and I couldn't get out of bed. And there was nothing physically wrong with me. It was more an emotional, I like to call it today, a spiritual problem. But there was a question going in around in my mind, which I couldn't find an answer. And that was, why are you going to work today? So I got a very pragmatic answer, and that was, you have 5 children, David. You have a mortgage. You have all of those things. But there was something that hit me so hard that I needed more, because I'd achieved goals, and I said, is that it? Is that life? You just go to the next goal and the next goal? Is that what it is? Or is there something deeper and richer? I couldn't come up with an answer, but I came up with the answer 6 months later when I read the story of a remarkable young Canadian boy who had run the greatest marathon run in history at that time. His name was Terry Fox, and he lost a leg to cancer and became so motivated to do what he could to end cancer that he decided to run across Canada and raise money for cancer research. Wow. And he ran 3,339 miles in 5 months. That's nearly a marathon a day with one good leg and a prosthetic device. And now, anyone that's ever run a marathon cannot ever think about going out the next day and doing it again. Right. But he did it day after day. He raised $24 million in that run, and people were telling him he was crazy to even think that he could raise $1 million. The bottom line of it was this. I realized that what this boy Terry Fox had that I did not have was purpose. He had a real deep purpose, and it was that purpose that inspired a whole nation to get behind his cause. And so I said, David, that's what's missing in your life. How will you now find purpose? And so that became a journey. And the first way I discovered that I would fulfill that purpose, I said, I want to make a film about him. I could see that he had the power of purpose, and that I began a journey that led me to making the documentary. And so the whole issue of purpose underpins, everything that I do in my life, because I know now in my new book, as I've gotten much older, I've realized that the need for a compelling reason to get up in the morning, to have a sense of purpose, never goes away. And when I listen to what you're doing with the university, I think it is so wonderful, because the greatest gift that you can give these young people is to understand that there is a special purpose for their existence.
Oh, that is so right on, David. And this idea of purpose and meaning, I think when we're younger and we're trying out a career or several careers, purpose and meaning almost seems to come a little more easily. But when we reach that retirement age or older, for some people, that's the big gap then. There is no purpose anymore. They're not getting up and going to work from 9 to 5, or there is no meaning, in trying to accomplish those goals. But you've created a word that I love. Rather than referring to those people as seniors, you call them elders, and even inspired elders. And that just integrates this idea of purpose and meaning. So tell our listeners a bit about elders and where that idea came from for you and who they are.
Elders are very much a part of many societies throughout the world. We talk about people as they get older as old people, but age is a chronological fact. It's not an indictment. And there are many people who have much more to contribute. I love what Cher said when someone said, "Aren't you too old to sing rock and roll?" And she said, "Why don't you ask Mick Jagger?" And I love that because it's all about, no, your mission on earth isn't finished if you're alive. So how do you now wake up with a compelling reason to get up in the morning, a sense of purpose, and figuring out how you now will contribute to the world?
I love that. I love that saying.
We got about 2 minutes left in the show. David, what are some takeaways that you want our viewers and listeners to get from this great conversation? By the way, hey, Paula, I want him back on the show.
I was just thinking, because we haven't even touched on inspired elders yet. We got to have him back.
I want him back on the show if his schedule permits. But what are some of the takeaways, a minute or less, that you want our viewers to get from this great discussion?
I think what is so important is that to really come up with how you see what your life is about. And as we get older, for example, it's not about doing anything but discovering your next act. What is my next act? You know, what am I going to do now? And because it's a time for enrichment. It's a time for growth. It's a time for learning. It's also a time for discarding a lot of the baggage that we've carried forward from our youth to the present. No. Let's go. Let's move forward and create rich experiences for ourselves. Because in the end of it, when you get to the end of life, you won't measure it by what you've got in the garage. You'll measure it by the experiences you've had in life. So
Yes.
how do we continue to create great experiences?
I love that. That was so well put, because you mentioned something about purpose and wisdom. I through life, I believe that we all are in search of wisdom. When we reach wisdom, then we understand our purpose. So, Paula, thank you so much for inviting this great guest on the show.
My pleasure, David. Thank you. Amazing.
David, we would love to have you back. But I'd like to thank Paula Shaw. I'd like to thank David. I'd like to thank Michelle. Michelle writes all of the programs, put everything together, kind of make me look good, but most importantly, I'd like to thank our viewers and our listeners out there for tuning into the James Cooley Show, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I tell you what, you on 84 platforms, including iHeartRadio, Spotify, there's so many. Just look us up and you can see what we are. But I tell you what, always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life.